If everybody can make their way to their seats, we have a jam-packed event today with an all-star lineup. So you guys are all in for a treat. We're going to get kickstarted with this event. We have a really packed schedule. We got some very important speakers. And my name is Kevin Kwan. I am part of the board. I am a board member of the AREAA GLA. And I'm going to be your MC today as we go through all of these important topics as we come through this together as a community. There have been some crazy life-changing events that have happened, as you guys all know. I'm sure if I took a quick poll in this room, everybody in this room probably knows somebody that has been impacted or they themselves have been impacted by the recent fires that we've had here in LA. So we want to, as a community, give our members the most information that they can get so they can take it back to their own communities and really start to help as we rebuild together. So we have some great friends here in the audience with us today that are going to give us some great information so you guys can take that back. There's a couple of things that I do want to say real quick. When you guys first came in, you guys saw all those little signs in the back. Those are live silent auctions. Please, today we're here to learn, but on top of that, we're here to raise money for the AREAA Foundation to support those that have been impacted by the fires. So let's raise as much money as possible. It's going to be a great cause. We're going to have a networking mixer event after this as well, too. Got a couple of save the date events. We have a upcoming legal update. Thursday, March 27th, that is going to be in downtown LA. We're going to give you guys more information on that, as well as a member appreciation in the month of April. So stay tuned for that. And then we have a homebuyer event. So you don't want to miss this homebuyer event. That will happen in the month of May. So with no further ado, we have a great friend from the AREAA GLA, Congress member Judy Chu from the House of Representatives for the 28th District here. She has another event right after this, so we want to hear from her. Thank you. Please come up to the microphone.
Yes, thank you for accommodating my schedule. I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, and I represent Altadena and Pasadena, the areas that were devastated by the fires. In fact, I'm holding a disaster event for the Altadena residents at 6 o'clock, so I have to leave here as soon as possible after I talk to you. But I do want to thank the Greater Los Angeles chapter of AREAA for the invitation to be here today and for raising this awareness about what survivors can do to recover their lives. And also, thank you for doing the fundraising for them because they really need it now. While these past few weeks have tested us after the unimaginable happened, Altadena and Pasadena residents witnessed whole streets of our beloved community burn to the ground. It's like an apocalypse, like a bomb went off up there. Blocks and blocks of burned out homes, the entire business district destroyed. So many of our friends lost their homes. They left their house with only the clothes on their back, and they lost the cherished belongings that they had, every memory that they had collected over a lifetime. And in fact, 9,500 structures in my district burned down. 20,000 people were made to be homeless, and 17 people died, many disabled and elderly. Amongst them, in fact, was an elderly Chinese American from Altadena. Jifan Zhao was 84 years old and an immigrant from China. He was in the restaurant business before he retired, and his son truly cared for him, bought him a home in Altadena, which he enjoyed so much and, in fact, loved hiking up there. When the fire occurred, the son could not reach him, so the son went on foot searching for him and tragically finally found his remains at the site of the burned out house. It's these tragedies that touch our hearts. And for everyone here today that's lost a home, a business, or a loved one, We support you, and we are working as much as possible to help you rebuild your lives. We know it will be a long journey toward recovery, but if we are to learn from these disasters in Los Angeles and around the country, the power of community is indeed essential. And I have made it my mission every single day since this happened that Washington, D.C. will help in the recovery for as long as it takes. In fact, President Biden not only immediately approved California's request for fire management assistance grants, he reimbursed the cost for firefighting this for both the Eaton and Palisades fire from 75% to 100%. His overnight disaster declaration made it possible for all federal resources to become available in Los Angeles immediately. And in fact, FEMA did immediately come, set up shop, and got people signed up. And also the Small Business Administration Disaster Program came as well. Now, these federal assistance programs are critical, and I urge all survivors to sign up for help on disasterassistance.gov if you haven't already. The deadline is March 10th. These are disaster grants of all sizes. They range from $770 for essential items to $43,600 for transportation and such, and or other essential costs, as well as transitional housing and remodeling. And in fact, the transitional sheltering program of FEMA can even go as long as 18 months and still be renewed if indeed the rebuilding is still going on. The Small Business Administration has a very generous disaster loan program. And what many people don't know is that it's not just for small businesses, it's for homeowners and it is for renters. And so you can have a very low interest loan of below 3% at very generous terms because you don't have to pay it back even for a year. And even then, the terms are like over a 30-year payment. But they can be for such things as $500,000 for personal property, or it can be up to $2 million for a small business and for its recovery. And let me say that the most important thing is actually our Disaster Recovery Center that is open daily at West Woodbury Road in Altadena. And there is also one at UCLA. It's a one-stop shop for all the survivors and is open every day. You can speak directly to representatives from LA County, the state agencies, and the federal agencies, including FEMA and SBA. And what's really essential is you can get your documents overnight. They are ready and able to process them immediately. Now, I'm so thankful that tens of thousands have already applied for federal assistance, and over $70 million in serious needs assistance has already been delivered to these survivors by FEMA. I've heard from constituents, and they have gotten that relief. But I do also want to warn about something, which is in the past, some were getting this non-approval message, but really non-approval does not mean non-approval. There are appeals. There are sometimes just more information that is needed. Also, I got FEMA to change the terminology so it doesn't say non-approval anymore. But I just want to emphasize this just in case you have some hiccup in the process. If you have a problem with FEMA, then I urge you to contact FEMA by phone or make an appointment at the disaster center, or do not hesitate to call my office. I also have to mention that there's been widespread confusion and concern over the president's memo from last month to freeze federal aid. And they are very concerned about how this might impact those receiving disaster aid, including aid from FEMA and the SBA loans. Thankfully, I've been advised that our recovery response from FEMA and the SBA loans will not be affected. That being said, there is uncertainty because of the president's executive orders about wildfire training and postponed work due to that is being done to reduce flammable vegetation. If there's one thing we know we need, is the reduction of that flammable vegetation that has put the West in danger. So this is not a good situation. And I'm working now to demand answers from the administration as to how they could do this, considering the dangers of fire that have been imminent over these years. Now, as we continue the cleanup process, I want to describe the phase that we are in right now, which is the debris removal process. There are two phases to the debris removal process. The first phase is the household hazardous debris removal, which is done by EPA for materials such as paint cans, pesticide cans, and lithium batteries. Phase two is the debris removal of the remains of the house. If your property has been damaged or destroyed, it must first pass a phase one household hazardous debris inspection and clearance by EPA before being eligible for phase two. And this inspection involves a team that comes and looks and removes the hazardous materials and then places a sign on the property saying that the house is cleared. And I have good news, which is the process was going to take at least a couple of months, but it looks like it's well on its way to completion even today, which means that we will very soon be having large-scale phase two debris removal. But in order to have the Army Corps of Engineers come onto your property to remove the debris, you have to opt in. So I urge everybody that I talk to opt in now and get your place in line early on. The earlier you get in line, the earlier your debris will be removed. And you have to sign the paperwork by March 31st, but don't delay. I would say do it now. Also, if you do it through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, then once the amount that insurance will reimburse will be deducted, FEMA covers the rest. So basically, it's all done at no cost to the resident, and that's a big deal. Now, people can opt out, and they can hire their own private contractors, but then you must supervise those contractors to make sure they're actually obeying the requirements, and also that they don't scam you, which has been known to happen in times past. So that's why I always think that doing the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is way better. Well, as we look forward, we know the federal government will need to step up, as it has for every other natural disaster for our history in this country. And this, I believe, will end up being the costliest disaster in our nation's history. Our disaster aid must come from Washington, D.C. to help in this rebuilding process. And it must come with no strings attached and no conditions. I mean, we've done it for every other disaster. I tell you, wildfires have no political affiliation. They know no political party. They've never been weaponized to punish so-called red or blue states. As Americans, we have each other's backs during these times of immense need. So this is what I'm spending my time full-time in Washington, D.C. doing, making sure that we get the disaster aid that we need. So as we recover, let us find strength in one another. Let us give thanks to those who've stepped up to support us in our time of overwhelming need. Thank you for having me here today. And thank you for building on the support that so many have already shown our survivors. And if you need any help with any part of this recovery, do not hesitate to call my office. And I would like to give certificates of congressional recognition to those who put this event together. So if I may call up our AREAA 2025 President, William Ruiz, Vice President Peter Chang, Co-Vice President Lee Ranju, Secretary Maria Howard, Treasurer Christine Chow, 2024 President Tang Hong Gang, Member of the Board of Directors June Bake, Member of the Board of Directors Annie Cho, and Member of the Board of Directors Kevin Kwan, and Advisor Val Wong. Thank you for putting this event on. Or just like the lecture. Yeah, then you fix it. Sure.